Joining me today is Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, who has been very vocal about the challenges law enforcement authorities face in their encounters with the mentally ill. Again, Sheriff, thanks very much for joining us today. Tell us briefly, tell us briefly how this intersection of mental illness and the criminal justice system affects your operation day to day.
You know, I often tell people, think of it this way. You're running a place that, under everyone's estimation, was billed as being a jail, and then without any real thought behind it, someone comes to you and says, listen, by the way, we changed it from a jail into a jail/mental health hospital. We're not going to give you any extra money. We're not going to give any people trained to do that. But by the way, the buses are out in front right now. We just finished unloading everybody from the mental health hospitals, and good luck. We got to go.
Wow. Of the 12,000 or so inmates that are under your control, that's an accurate figure?
Yeah, it's about a little under 12,000 today.
What portion of those have mental illness, diagnosed mental illness, symptoms of mental illness, or some other kind of emotional disorder?
On the low end, it's 30%. It's more accurately probably right around 40%.
What is different about caring for this population as opposed to the regular population, if there is such a regular population in a jail?
You know, there's almost no way to adequately answer that question because it has so many different elements. From our standpoint, the highest number of attacks that we have on staff by far are the people from the mental health units.
Why aren't they being treated in either special treatment centers or hospitals?
The reality is, the reason we do it this way is people don't care. Do we have people who are mentally ill who commit horrible offenses? Yeah, we have them. That's the smallest group by far. The rest of them are committing these small, insignificant cases or crimes that are really more crimes of survival than anything else, and we throw them in jails. And I often tell people, I go, how's this any different than if tomorrow we said, people with diabetes, we're going to put in jail from now on. Your treatment plan, we're going to throw you in jail.
I want to switch gears for just a minute and go to a case that some on your staff have suggested underscores the problems that you've just outlined. It involves a 35-year-old inmate, I believe. Can you tell us about him and what your dealings have been like with him?
He was brought into our custody because he had a warrant out for his arrest. So he was shipped here. When he was shipped here, he had already ripped out one of his eyeballs. And he had done that because of his mental illness. He wanted to get rid of the visions. He was very clear he wanted to get rid of the visions, and so he'd ripped that out. So when we brought him in here, we knew when he got off the plane that we had our hands full, and it took everything we could do to try to work with him so he didn't rip his other eyeball out, because he told us that's what he was going to do, and everyone knew that.
You took some very special precautions, some that probably aren't in line with what a sheriff's deputy's job usually is. Can you tell us about what you did?
We had to develop a plan right from the beginning with him to deal with the fact he was going to attempt to rip his other eye out. So the plan was we put a hockey helmet on him so he couldn't access his eye. We put mitts on his hands so he couldn't gouge out his eyes. And then at other times we would have to intervene by bringing staff in to have him sedated to try to deal with some of the issues that would be popping up, because he would get very upset because he wasn't able to do that. We were, happy in our bizarre world that we were able to succeed, that while he was with us, he was not able to rip that out. The amount of time and energy we had to put in there to prevent this from happening, he was trying to rip that other eye out. And here was a person that, under everyone's analysis, is horribly mentally ill and clearly should be in a mental health setting, not in a jail. And yet that's exactly where he's at. There's nobody I know who's thoughtful that doesn't think he has horrible mental illness issues.
Sheriff, thank you very much for being with us today. And for more on this issue, please go to usatoday.com.